The next party will come in and hopefully alleviate some of the fucking disease that they've fucking thrown onto the streets. But essentially that other party will then just get wound up in the corrupt cycle of it.
Jason Williamson of Sleaford Mods, how you doing, mate?
All right, how are you?
I'm not too bad, mate. Hanging in there, hanging in there.
Good, good. Nice to see you.
Likewise, we're talking new music, a couple of dates, and then a tour.
Yeah.
What have you guys got coming up? Tell me about it.
More touring, festivals, usual thing, do you know what I mean?
Relentless.
Yeah.
So, talk me through it. You've got a new album coming out. What's the creative process like for doing that? You and Andrew, do you get in the studio together? How does it work?
Yeah, basically, Andrew, we started pretty early on with this, like about 1.5 years ago. And he kept sending me stuff. I was working on it. We'd get together in between gigs or whatever. And we did it that way, do you know what I mean? Again, obviously, you haven't got a shortage of inspiration, if you want to call it inspiration.
It's behind you there. That was your main source of inspiration, was it? Or maybe the people inside it rather than the building?
The chief conductors, so to speak. So, yeah, it just went like that, really.
Bellower, bellow, who will believe we got part? It's a sign of the times, like a cliche, written non-stop. Full metal jackets get sprung, tanks are boiling, a bag, the gunner. Stop, there's a drop-off. Auntie Air and Vladimir's guy's top off. This guy's top off quick, reach for your bits. Shit, he's so fit, big banger. Number 10 can't give me that Bruce Banner. I got crisis stamina.
In one of the lyrics of UK Grim, the track you've released, you talk about crisis stamina.
Sure.
It's felt like for the last, 10 years really living in England, we're in this almost permanent state of crisis.
Yes.
I mean, would you talk about that a little bit for me?
Yeah, but well, it started with, I mean, anybody on the lower end of things knows it's a constant worry. It's almost a state of terror, you know, trying to figure out how you're going to live, especially those that are depending on the welfare side of things, do you know what I mean? Or, you know, having their wages sort of stacked up. So, I don't know, and then it goes through to the general hatred and disdain that you experience on a daily basis. So, initially it went from shock, and it just goes into a state of numbness, doesn't it? You know, you become resilient to it. The daily stories of corruption and disregard for anybody apart from that person in their own inner circle, you know.
Feels like there's this massive disconnect, right? I think you and I have spoken about it before, of kind of the lords of the manor over there, and then the everyday life that other people are leading. Yeah. And the gap between those things is, would you say that's where a lot of your music draws inspiration? I
think, yeah, it's where I was politicised under the dregs of New Labour to what is now this bunch of fucking absolute useless bastards. And I know I can swear on Hey Joe. Hey Joe, it's not Jimi Hendrix.
Hey Joe.
But
you name-checked Liz Truss as well, didn't you?
Yeah, because at the time she was on her arse, you know, getting kicked out for obviously the blatant fuck-ups and just general, you know, I mean, she shouldn't have been in the job, do you know what I mean? She was clearly not. She was, you know, not cut out for it at all, you know, or any of them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, any of them's a good one, because in the music video that you guys have released, with Cold War Steve as well, which is a beautiful piece of animation, looks really cool. You kind of got this gallery of bellends, basically, in there, haven't you? There's so many to choose from, and she's just one.
Just one, you know. The thing is, they all become faceless. They're all the same part of the same beast, aren't they? So, you know, people have said, "Oh, aren't you going to be worried about mentioning such and such in a song because it'll age?" I'm like, well, no, not really, because the what they do is the same as what anybody their successor is going to do, etc. You know, this refined Tory government, this refined is probably the wrong word, but
cultured.
This modern Tory government is it's It's just a massive cloud of damp, isn't it, that needs to go, really.
It's true, because, you know, what has it been, 13 years now?
Yeah.
The leadership changes, the faces change. They do quite a good job of it, don't they, of kind of convincing you or rebranding themselves, telling you, oh, this is a new government, you know, Rishi Sunak said it, Liz Truss said it.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're convincing anybody, are they, anymore? And I mean, they did probably post-Brexit, but, you know, sorry, pre-Brexit, but post-Brexit, you know, even the fucking twats are starting to see through it, you know.
It's almost like the world that they inhabit is different to the one that everyone else does, if you know what I mean. Like the world they talk about being, or the England they talk about being proud of, is different to the one that everyone else lives in. Or I wonder if they believe their own spin, or if they're just so far into it.
Well, I would imagine that if they're leaving a nice leafy house in the middle of fucking Sussex and getting driven here in the morning to this, and then getting driven back home, and that's all they see, I mean, who would want to let go of that? Because I bet it's fucking glorious, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's got to change up, hasn't it? It's got to switch up quick. But it won't, you know.
I mean, look, obviously we are in London, right? You and I were talking on the way down here, coming down to this place and seeing it, well, in the flesh for the first time, I guess. That was a different commute for you, wasn't it? You live in Nottingham. It's very different to the world that those guys inhabit, like you said, coming from Surrey or whatever.
Sure.
Do you notice a lot of your music talks about the kind of broader themes in the country, whether it's like boredom or shame, pride, those kind of things? Do you think those emotions are similar or different in London compared to, let's say, the rest of the country?
For people like this? Yeah. I would imagine they're similar, but on a different level, on a different plane, so to speak. You know, I don't think anybody truly gets away with it under this big umbrella of capitalism. Do you know what I mean? Some people certainly get their toenails cut by other people, but you know, generally people don't really get away with it. I don't know. I don't think the kind of pain that we experience is with those people, but they've just been born into that. They don't know any better. They don't want to know any better, and that ignorance, in a way, is a kind of a bubble for them, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you think that ignorance explains some of the inhumanity, perhaps? Completely
and utterly, yeah. I mean, I don't think for a minute that Johnson's evil or Sunak's evil. They just simply don't know any better, and they've just had their bibs wiped all the fucking life, you know. I mean, the way they talk, the way they look, the way they smile, just fucking, you know.
When Sunak speaks, there's just like a tone of condescension. He's like patronising. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like he's proclaiming down.
Yeah, well, he's been told what to do in the sense of, I mean, the posts on Twitter are just fucking heinous, and it's every day is like with these incredible people in some broken down hospital in the middle of fucking Burnley or whatever. Fuck off. You know, I mean, yeah, it's just completely, it goes beyond insincere, doesn't it? Yeah. And you know, it does touch on the roof of criminality. Of course it does.
Mm-hmm. We were talking, well, I mentioned Cold War Steve earlier. Yeah. Could you talk us through working with him for that music video? What was that like?
It was brilliant. I know Chris, I've known him for a long time. Well, not a long time, about 3 or 4 years. Not that well, but we worked on something together a few years back, a little exhibition. And, you know, kind of said hello occasionally since then. But our manager suggested an animation for UK Grim, as opposed to just me and Andrew going like,
the classic.
And I thought, fuck that, I hate animation. I don't know, there's something about it I don't really, but why don't you get Cold War Steve in? So I asked him, and he got together with a guy called Andy Minton, who helped sort of bring it to life. And it's just been brilliant. Yeah, hope the relationship sort of continues. Do you know what I mean?
This is UK Grim. Keep that desk area tidy. Put it in the bin. This is UK Grim. This is UK Grim. Keep that desk area tidy. Put it in the bin. This is UK Grim.
You recently said when you were, you wrote a tweet about the upcoming music you guys are releasing, and you said we are all now servants of this really bleak sort of Aldi nationalism.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I mean, what did they say? The true essence of evil is like, you know, a bland administration job. You know, like how the factory of Nazism, etc. That's just one example, but it is a kind of really soft form of absolute hatred, isn't it? A kind of hello, you cunt. Starve, your kids starve, your partner starves, all of you starve. You know, it's that kind of thing. And yeah, you know, what I meant by servants is we're so powerless. We were powerless anyway, but we have all become so completely numb to it. We have almost kind of morphed into the same body that conducts these policies and this mindset.
Why do you think your music, or perhaps your interest, does focus on that darker side of things? Do you think there's more truth in kind of that pain and suffering than perhaps there is in happiness? I
think so, yeah. When I started to fully experience that pain and suffering, it was a feeling that hasn't left me. It was my life force. It was real life. This is real life. When the facade came down, or the curtains opened, you know, I no longer viewed my mate in his nice BMW as something to aim for. It was the opposite to aim for, to reject that. And all right, fair enough. I'm in a position now where I can afford that, and I like it because that's why it's so fucking popular. But to actually get rid of that, to forget that mindset, to want to work with anything else, creatively speaking, no, nothing else is as interesting as social commentary, I don't think, you know.
And on that point then about social commentary, you kind of developing a bit of a reputation now for, you know, doing a pretty fucking good job of it, capturing the zeitgeist or whatever you want to call it, how people are feeling in society. Does that then turn into perhaps a pressure when you're about to release new music or you're writing new music? Do you feel that?
Sometimes, but then you hate the feeling, you hate the fact that people are expecting that, so you resent them for it, and in a weird kind of way, that conjures up inspiration for new material. That kind of goes into other things. Yeah. To not care about what people think, essentially, and just do what you want to do, and don't be honest with yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's interesting. Almost like an adversarial relationship.
Sure.
With your audience, because I know, you know, certainly back in the younger days of Sleaford Mods, the crowds at your gigs were like up in your face, getting on stage, doing all sorts, and that's almost. I wonder if that's like a common thread almost between like the relationship between the band and its audience.
Probably, I don't know. It's a weird one, but it's worrying sometimes because when you do release stuff, the comments underneath, whether it's on YouTube or sometimes on Twitter, are of people that are like, "Oh my God, this is brilliant. Why haven't I heard this before?" Or, "Oh my God, these guys are really talking about the state of things." It's like, aren't you talking about it yourself? Hasn't this kind of clicked with you before? And I think a lot of people are so cut off from it, even people that are probably would otherwise be fine tuned into it, because life is so fast now and so demanding, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. To strike a slightly more positive tone before we wrap things up, what gives you hope? Do you find any cause for hope?
Just perseverance, I guess, and just being, just trusting in yourself and getting through it with people that are as strong as you and that you can confide in and who are intelligent. That's the only thing, because this isn't going away, and the next party will come in and hopefully alleviate some of the fucking disease that they've fucking thrown onto the streets. But essentially that other party will then just get wound up in the corrupt cycle of it, you know.
I mean, the odds are that next party is going to be Keir Starmer's Labour Party.
It will be. And the way things are going, I don't think I'll even need to vote, because it would just be a landslide, you know. But it just keeps on going, and this is testament to that. This is, you know, this is a door that's always locked, you know what I mean?
Which repeats itself.
Yeah, over and over again. So all you've got is your own. You know, I've stopped giving to charities in a way and just trying to help around my own community, because that's where the real help is. You know what I mean? That's what matters, I think, to a certain degree.
Those personal connections.
Completely, because it's become now, it's on every street corner now, you know. And so, better to try and help in your own community.
Yeah. Jason Williamson, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Fuck my country.